This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosovich, George Stoy here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. A victory Monday at that. Oklahoma with the 24-13 victory over Michigan on Saturday. What a night it was over at the Palace. That was incredible.
One of the best atmospheres that I think I've been a part of, especially the last few years in terms of covering the team. So it was awesome. The fans were great. And
the whole
just
day,
a massive
the
win.
whole day, the environment around the program, around
Oval.
the game, the North Oval was awesome. Thank you to everybody that came out to that, to the unofficial 40 live taping that we did on Saturday afternoon. Shout out Chance Cosby for hanging out, making some of the queso. That was extremely good. We will be joined by Josh McCuistion to get more into the OU Michigan game here on the Gameday Rewind. But first, let us tell you about our good friends over at William & Lauren, the official custom clothier of OU football. William & Lauren outfits your favorite OU players in custom suits that boost their confidence off the field to match their confidence on the field. There's a lot of that this weekend. Their perfectly tailored clothing ensures every Sooner stands out in comfort and style at prices that make luxury accessible. You can visit William & Lauren in Oklahoma City or in Tulsa nowadays, or online at williamandlauren.com. That is williamandlauren.com. Dress like a champion and make your style as legendary as OU football. A number of OU football players, or all of the OU football players, outfitted here by William & Lauren during the Walk of Champions, which has become quite the thing over there. I mean, just the crowds over there.
Looks like it was quite the scene.
The first 2 weeks has been incredible, much bigger than anything I can ever remember over there. And I think a lot of it has to do with, everything that is with the north side of the campus now on game days. But thank you to William & Lauren. You can check them out at williamandlauren.com or go into the brick and mortar in Oklahoma City or Tulsa. All right, we'll bring in Josh McCuistion now. A 24-13 victory over Michigan on Saturday. Oklahoma rising in the AP poll, obviously. Not in the top 10, but just outside of the top 10. And if you keep winning, I imagine everything will take care of itself. Josh, good afternoon to you. Much easier. I think this is going to be one of the more fun Game Day Rewinds we've had in about a year's time, because there's so much to talk about with Oklahoma and the challenge that was coming with Michigan, and they passed with flying colors. The level of physicality on Saturday, quite impressive for the OU side of things. OU offensive line, defensive line certainly kind of passed that test that I think a lot of people were looking at.
That's why I thought this was such a perfect game for Oklahoma. I thought they were considerably more talented outside than, Michigan is. And obviously I think Bryce Underwood's incredibly talented, but like just the skill positions, everything. I thought OU had some edge there. But up front, we were going to find out, like, is this team, where are they? Where are they going to fit into the SEC kind of hierarchy? And, man, they answered a lot of questions. There's still plenty to go.
Sure.
This is, I think we all can acknowledge, not a finished product. But really, that was what impressed me the most, is they met Michigan's physicality. And that was something I wasn't sure they were going to be able to do.
No doubt about it. And I just think, let's start with the defensive line, because I think that the play that those guys had on Saturday night, specifically some of those interior guys, whether it be Dominic Williams, who we talked about a bunch on the Eskridge Lexus postgame show, that gentleman that you just saw on the screen, David Stone, Jaden Jackson had a couple of really nice plays, as well as Grayson Holt, and even Marcus Strong. I looked up in the middle of the third quarter in one of the bigger possessions of the game, big 99s out there in the middle. Josh, they were incredible. I think that the bit here was, okay, if you're going to be one of these elite groups in the country, you're going to have to obviously be able to stop the the rushing attack there by Justice Haynes. But that group was absolutely incredible. And you can even lump in the defensive ends. I was going to say PJ Adebore, looking back at the tape and even thinking it Saturday night, he's starting to show up a little bit, maybe more than we expected. What did you just think overall from the defensive line? They were incredible. Taylor Wine as well.
Yeah, PJ is absolutely a story, because that's the way he played against Michigan. That guy gets on the field, and he does it a lot, because you can put him out there, and in run situations, which we know OU is going to face a ton of in the SEC, and all the physicality that the entire conference really likes to play with. Guys, he had one, and for those that watch the Monday Morning Idiot and go through those videos with me, I broke it down where he had I think it was a second down stop where literally just stands up the Michigan left tackle, Evan Link, and like rips him. I mean, like you're like, whoa, that's the stuff we've been waiting for. You knew the physical talent was there, but to see him actually make the proper technical move, like doing all the little things to be good, you're like, wow, that's when you start talking about, oh, the light's coming on. He's starting to figure all this out. But in general, again, the thing that I can't get over, I can't think of a guy where it's like, well, he kind of had an off night. Marvin Jones Jr., who I've not been, like, I didn't have high expectations for Marvin Jones Jr. He played really well against Michigan, made some nice plays, kind of flashed the elite potential that everybody's waited for him from, 2 different previous stops. So I loved it. David Stone, I was talking to George earlier. He's showing you why you recruit 5-star linemen. Like that, he's starting to put it all together, and you're like, oh, that's different. Like that, OU's got some really good players. David Stone has a chance to be special, and he really showed a lot of that stuff off. And again, I could go on and on. There's not a defensive lineman that I couldn't speak highly of. I thought they played incredibly well.
For me, it's Dominic Williams too. I mean, you saw it in some of these clips. I mean, he's getting off blocks and making plays on running backs, and I thought he had his best game as a Sooner. And you mentioned it, Josh. That's why you recruit 5-star guys. It's also why you go out and get a Dominic Williams, in the transfer portal now a couple of years ago, and also made an effort to retain him. This defensive line, I just, I wrote it in my new story I'm doing every Sunday, the 10 things I think I learned. I think this is the best defensive line Oklahoma's had since 2009.
And you could say that with a little bit of your chest now that they went out and did it against a opponent that who knows what Michigan's going to end up doing, but
you look at their schedule, I think they're going to win a lot of games.
Offensive line, defensive line, that was the test, and they certainly passed it. I thought the defensive line they were kind of incredible on Saturday.
I mean, they were dominant.
For the high expectations that went into the game, it was like, oh, they had a little bit more than I thought. And as you said, Josh, you go down the list. I was cataloging everything for the archives today. It's like every single defensive lineman that played at least showed up once.
Yeah, made a play.
To be able to save a play. I was like, okay, there it is for him. It was incredible.
Well, and guys, what's crazy, we haven't even seen our Mason Thomas really get rolling yet. Like, I mean, the guy that we knew what OU had. And again, I think part of that is that's got nothing to do with our Mason. Like, they're clearly – they're chipping him. They're doing everything they can to slow him down. But that's opening stuff up for all these other guys. And eventually, if those guys start making plays, then these offenses have to start making some business decisions.
Here's our Mason. This is one of the better plays he had today. But I thought he was really good in the run game. And he played a ton of snaps. I have the snaps in front of me here. Our Mason, he played the most of any defensive end. He played 48 of the 59 snaps. I mean, that's a ton at edge. So I thought he won't show up a ton in the box score, but I thought he was spectacular. They were just dominant up front. I mean, Michigan had nothing going.
Yeah, it was a very, very impressive defensive performance. Owen Heineke leads Oklahoma with 7 tackles on the night. Kip Lewis, Peyton Bowen had 6. Kobe McKenzie, Robert Spears Jennings, Dominic Williams, each with 5 tackles. Kendall Daniels, David Stone with 4. Cortland Guillory, Sammy Omosigo, Davon Jordan with 3. I mean, you just go down the list. Every single guy. And I think the depth was certainly something that showed up. Let's move over a little bit to the linebacker core, Josh. I thought that, Kobe McKenzie, we talked about it on the game day preview. He was one of the guys that his eyes kind of lit up when we started talking about Michigan a week ago today, going into the Michigan week. Kobe McKenzie certainly showed up on Saturday, as well as Kip Lewis, who you noted in the report card probably didn't have like the most glamorous box score. It just seemed like he was around the ball. And then obviously Owen Heineke has really started to make a name for himself. What an incredible night for the former Ohio State lacrosse player turned big-time kind of Oklahoma linebacker now. I think we can say that.
Eddie, I haven't been in the office, obviously. Is George just insufferable at this point?
Yeah, we have a Bishop Kelly flag now in the conference room. It's kind of incredible.
Lord, I believe it. No, but the linebackers, guys, we talked about this last week when I think on the podcast and some of the other stuff we were doing. I thought the linebackers were crucial to how this game was going to go because they were going to have to keep Bryce Underwood under control. And when I went back and watched Michigan's season opener against New Mexico, when New Mexico had any luck stopping Justice Haynes, it was really their Mike linebacker, a kid named Jackson Eck, that played really well in that game. He was reading it well, and he was getting in front of Haynes and kind of forcing Haynes to take him on physically. And that's what you saw a lot of. Like, Kobe was right where he needed to be time and time again. I think you could make a very real case that Kobe McKenzie has probably been Oklahoma's most consistent defender through the first 2 games. I think he's played maybe not like stratospheric plays, but just a lot of really good football.
I think he's playing great, Josh. I mean, he's certainly playing the best football of his career, and I think you can tell when he's in the game, everybody else around him just feels more comfortable too, I think. So I thought he was great. I thought Kip played really well. Sammy Omosigo, I know he had the where he ran into the punter,
roughing the kicker,
but he came up with some big plays, some big tackles in this game too.
Look at the I guess kind of the closeout. It was in the fourth quarter. It was late. You're up by 11, but still an incredible defensive play.
And then you have Heineke, which you see him here getting the big tackle for loss. He just seems to be always around the ball.
Sure.
Like I don't really know like if that's scheme or whatever it is. He just like wherever the ball is, he somehow finds it.
Yeah, it was super, super impressive.
There's Omosigo with the sack too.
Omosigo and Jaden Jackson. If we want to roll that clip back, I know we were talking a little bit about the linebackers, but the move, just the bull rush that Jaden Jackson has here, just knocking 61 completely off the ball, pretty special stuff.
Yeah, they I think that's the center. They destroyed him all game up front.
I can't remember a time that a good team like a Michigan came through Norman and you had so many start-stops of the game because they were having to get guys off the field. And they obviously, I think it was the left tackle that had the foot injury beginning of the game. I think it was in the first quarter. But just physically, they just beat their ass. I don't know any other way to say it. And I think I was a little taken aback. I thought this defense was good. Now we're kind of verging on the step of, could they be special? Could it be an elite group? And you get out to the corners now. Gentry Williams obviously had the injury on in the third quarter on Saturday night. You have to throw Davon Jordan out there. He held up, I thought. Gave up a big play. I think it was on the first snap that he was in. They went after him there in the second quarter before even the Gentry Williams injury. And it might have been the third quarter, if I remember correctly. But the opposite side, how special can a Cortland Guillory be? Because it seems like through 8 quarters of his career, not only does he never leave the field, there's a certain level of confidence within him and trust within him from Jay Valai, but he was just incredible. And it's not like he has 7 PBUs in the box score, but he just seems to be in the right spot every single time.
Well, what sticks out to me, guys, is you're not seeing people go at him.
Right.
Like, you're not seeing like, oh, they're attacking Cortland Guillory. They're going to find out what he is. Like, it feels like Michigan saw it on tape and we're like, that kid's pretty good. Like, now, again, he's going to face better. Like, and I say better quarterbacks. I think Bryce Underwood could be really, really special.
Sure.
Game 2 of his career, a lot to ask, to challenge, like, okay, we're going to throw vertical. We're going to get crazy. Clearly, Michigan was trying to keep it under control to a large degree. He's going to face bigger tests. I think Auburn in a couple weeks, like, watching him go against a guy like Cam Coleman or something, that'll be really fun to watch. But what I come away with every time I watch him is like every test where you're like, okay, maybe that's the moment that's too big for the freshman. He's fine. Yeah. Like he just shows right back up and goes right back to what he's doing. He's so steady. And when you can mix that kind of mentality with his physical ability, guys, I mean, I don't know about you all. I've had a couple national people, like national college football guys, reach out and be like, did they expect this? Did they know he was going to be this good? And you're like, well, I mean, I think by summer we started to hear this. But, I mean, guys, I don't know about you, but it felt like fall camp. It went from like, okay, he's going to be in the rotation to, oh, this guy may start. Like, I mean, it happened really fast, in my opinion.
And I think the biggest thing, and George, you reported on this through the entirety of preseason, basically after every practice, it was, well, what'd Cortland do today?
Yeah.
It felt like the recruiting report a year ago when we would just be like, all right, well, what did Elijah Thomas do this weekend? Or what did Cortland Guillory do this weekend?
Yeah, he's been super impressive. And, I'm interested to see him go up against a better group of receivers because I really think that's one thing watching Michigan is they lack some talent at receiver, and it didn't help Bryce Underwood. But like Josh said, every test that he's been thrown, he's passed, and he's been phenomenal. I think he's really good in man-to-man, and I can't wait for him to go up against some of the better wide receivers in this conference. But Brent kind of talked about it after the game. They kind of took a gamble by not taking a corner in the portal back in the spring and the winter, and they bet on their young guys. And I think it's starting to pay off with a guy like Cortland Guillory. And that's, you got to see what happened to Gentry Williams. I think he'll be okay. I didn't seem too serious. But you're going to get Eli Bowen back at some point, you hope. Davon Jordan, I think they still have a lot of trust in him. So that corner room is starting to look maybe a little bit better than what we had anticipated.
I was going to ask you about that because Eli Bowen, he was on the sidelines on Saturday. What's the deal with Kendall Dolby? When do we think he's going to get back?
Up.
Okay.
He was suited up, but and went through some of warm-ups, but I would probably guess another couple weeks.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah, certainly something maybe Brent Venables.
Him and Giovanni.
Maybe we can wrangle some news out of that situation. I had some pretty funny video of Giovanni Gibson as well. He was talking a lot of shit to a lot of people when he was coming on the sidelines. It was funny, though. I thought it was funny. I'll put it on the Crimson Corner. On the back end, you're talking about Kobe McKenzie being Oklahoma maybe one of the more consistent players on the defensive side of the football here through the first 8 quarters of the season. I think you could say the same for somebody like a Peyton Bowen. I think
he was
had
awesome on Saturday.
Very, very good game here throughout the first portion of the season.
Did you know he played? There was only 2 guys that played every single snap for Oklahoma on Saturday: Cortland Guillory and Peyton Bowen.
Wow. That's good news. I think that's good news.
Yeah.
Reggie Powers in that mix. Robert Spears-Jennings, I thought he had a fine night. He gave up the long pass play, but it was kind of a hell of a passing catch from Bryce Underwood to the Donovan McCulley kid out of Indiana that obviously Oklahoma went after in the transfer portal this spring. All in all, though, just a great defensive performance.
One of the best that I can remember watching from an Oklahoma team.
Josh, how much better can this thing get? Like, are you at the verge, maybe like me, that's like, can this be an elite group, like an elite defense that you could really depend on? Because, and I think the other thing, too, with like just the defense as a whole, they were thrown into some pretty bad spots, obviously because of the miscues, whether it be the Isaiah Satania punt, fumbled punt or muff punt, whatever you want to call it. The roughing the punter, as you said, getting Michigan back out onto the field. They were thrown into some pretty tough spots that really could have changed the game, and they held up every single time they were asked.
The only thing that I would say scares me about saying, okay, this could be a top 5, top 10 unit in the country, and I think that's a valid conversation right now, I really do, is corner depth. And it's not that I don't think it's there, I haven't seen it. I don't know really what's there, and once you get into these, like we've talked about, you go play LSU where Garrett Nussmeier can spread you 4 wide and really throw some challenges at you, make you play in space. How does that look? And I think if Eli Bowen can get back and be healthy, if Gentry Williams is okay. And guys, the thing, I didn't realize it until I was doing the rewatch here. I know Gentry went off in the second quarter. Did you guys realize he came back on early in the third? I missed that.
I missed that too. I know he left again in the third though, and did not come back in the game.
Absolutely. He did, but it makes me wonder, maybe it's not that serious if they were willing to bring him back on and then say, okay, maybe it's too much.
Well,
that
Josh,
kind of thing. It made me feel a little optimistic seeing him back out there.
And I can't remember, we talked about it on something, but I was watching him through the binoculars pretty closely.
It was on the instant reaction, I believe, and then we talked about it on the Eskridge Lexus as well.
He was running up and down the sideline, and he was trying to get back in the game. And I think they eventually just said, hey, Michigan can't throw the football, so let's just put somebody out there that is at least can run 100%, just in case. So I think that's why they roll with Davon Jordan. I don't know what that means for him this week against Temple. It's Temple, can you hold him out and bring him back for a bigger game against Auburn? Probably. It looked to me like a groin injury, the way they were stretching him out and stuff.
Pretty incredible when you think about where this defense was. And I know this is like kind of rehashing old history, but from where this thing was when Brent came in to where it is now, and the way we're talking about it and the depth that they have, truly kind of incredible. Another shutout in the first half this week against Michigan, obviously leading 14-0. The Sooners have limited a couple of game note items here. The limited opponents to 176 passing yards through the air through the first 2 games. That is the least amount. They had 34 in the first week against Illinois State, obviously 142 against Michigan. It's the fewest amount of passing yards an OU opponent have combined for over the first 2 games of the season since 1998.
Wow.
Kind of incredible.
That's insane.
Really dominant performance for OU on the defensive side of the football. Anything else stick out to you, Josh, just in terms of OU defensively on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think you guys hit it on the head with Peyton Bowen. I think he's kind of flown under the radar as playing really good football. But, I mean, with probably that exception, more than anything, guys, it's just the depth. They just keep rolling bodies out, and and they're playing well, and they're guys that, frankly, I expect to play well. Like, you know, it's not like let's see what he's got. I mentioned corner because that's really the only position to me where I'm not sure. Like, if Robert Spears-Jennings has to come off, I don't have any problem playing Michael Boganowski. Like, there's a guy behind almost every position where you're like, okay, that'll be okay. They're going to find a guy. I would say, just because of how good and how experienced he is, our Mason Thomas is probably the one guy that you're just like, I don't know if they can just fix that. So obviously the fact he's been healthy is nothing but good news for Oklahoma. But that, other than that, though, guys, I mean, they just have so many bodies they can keep throwing at these offenses.
Pretty incredible. Bryce Underwood, we had talked about it all week. Got to slow this guy down. He ends up 9 for 24 in the night, 142 yards through the air. Had the 44-yarder that was, really kind of the meat and core of what he was able to produce on Saturday night. And last but not least, Michigan goes 3 for 14 on third down, 21% on the evening.
Yeah, I think OU's, 7th nationally right now on third down defense?
Are they really?
After 2 weeks. So, when you talk about a top 10 unit, that's one stat that you want to keep an eye on.
Sure.
Because if you can be really good on third down as a defense, that means you're getting the ball back a lot.
If you want to really be critical about this thing, right, I think the one thing that you would point at, and maybe it shouldn't be a surprise, maybe it is a surprise, they haven't been able to force a whole lot of turnovers quite yet.
Yep.
Maybe that's something that comes in time, though. If you continually pressure the quarterback like they have here over the first 8 quarters of the season, that's going to have to come around, Josh.
I completely agree. And I think some of that, Eddie, is born of 2 teams that, like Illinois State, obviously, they walked out there and knew, like, we can't compete with these guys up front. We're going to get it out fast. We're just, one read, we're going to go. If you don't have it, quarterback's going to run, that kind of thing. With Michigan, same basic idea, because you have a young quarterback on the road, big game. They've limited that chance. And I think when you have teams that are like, we are going to go play with Oklahoma, we're going to try to play ball, you give the R. Mason Thomases, the David Stones, the Grayson Haltons, all these guys more, that half a second more, because, guys, I don't know about you, but I've seen probably at least 4 would-be sacks for R. Mason Thomas if he had just a split second longer. He had one where he had Underwood just dead on Saturday night, and Underwood just threw it right before he got there. And again, that's part of football, of course, but you can tell how quickly everybody's trying to get the ball. If there's not a lot of vertical passing, that'll come. Now, the risk is there's going to be more danger for the defense, but at the same time, there's also more opportunities for that front to kind of make havoc plays.
That was fun talking about the defense. I think it's going to be a little bit more fun talking about John Mateer and the offense. The SEC Player of the Week, John Mateer is, as that was announced on Monday. But first, George, do you mind if we talk about your bottom, please?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Remember, a-hole is only a dirty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code SoonerScoop at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at HelloTushy, TUSHY.com with promo code SoonerScoop. And I know that there is one going to be employed inside the Stoya household soon.
Yeah, can't wait. Just got it today, so I'm going to be putting that up tonight, and I'll get back to you on the reviews. I think we'll also have one here at the office, which will be great. I know you're really looking forward to that.
George doesn't know this, but we are putting a Scoop HD camera inside the Stoya household attached to the Tushy. Remember, a-hole is only a dirty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code SoonerScoop at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at HelloTushy.com with promo code SoonerScoop.
We got to send one out to Houston.
I think we will. We will send one to Mr. Josh McCuistion. All right, let's move over to the offense. Another night that I think we walk away and we say two things that we know for sure. Oklahoma has an offense coordinator in Ben Arbuckle. They have a quarterback in John Mateer. Obviously, incredible night for Mateer, 21 to 34, 270 yards through the air. Had the touchdown, also had the interception early. Bounce back for that, certainly. 19 carries, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.9 a carry. They were incredible. I think just overall, offensively, from a game plan perspective, talking about Ben Arbuckle, as you see on the screen here, I'd point to the 2-minute warning right before halftime that Oklahoma was able to capitalize the missed field goal. They pushed it to 14-0. And then, of course, the fourth quarter, 10-minute drive by Oklahoma. It seemed like every button that Ben Arbuckle pushed came to some type of success for OU offensively, Josh. Just in terms of a game plan scheme, everything that went into it on Saturday night, a little bit of a masterclass from Ben Arbuckle and friends.
It really was, and what I like about it is he's going against a really sharp guy in Wink Martindale that's obviously got NFL pedigree. This wasn't, picking on somebody that just can't match up or doesn't have track record. Like, Wink Martindale's a respected guy. And what I also liked is, like, it's easy, kind of like, I think we were talking about this in the recruiting report, but, like, when all the momentum's going your way and it's just a tidal wave, like, it's hard to call the wrong play because the other team's rattled, they're shaken up, you guys are on, you feel like you're unstoppable. But Michigan came up with stops. They came up with big plays. They came up with some turnovers and that weren't really involved with play calling. And I felt like Arbuckle did an outstanding job of pivoting. Like, okay, they've kind of got us with this. All right, we're going to break out John Mateer run game a little bit. Or, okay, they're doing this. Like, Michigan started overloading with that blitz, and they hit that little Javonte Barnes pass out in the flat, and it was just like he had an answer. As Michigan showed him enough, okay, here's what we're going to do to address that. And it was just a great cat and mouse game between two really smart coordinators.
And I just love to, like, and we knew this, like, Arbuckle has a tremendous trust in Mateer, but it really felt like as the game went on and they needed a big play, they trusted John Mateer to make that play, and whether that was running the football or delivering a throw down the field, like, they were never scared of, like, letting him have a moment, And I think you walk away from that and you're like, okay, Oklahoma's got a chance to be in every game because of this kid, and he's a real gamer. He's a great quarterback, and I think he's got great fundamentals and all of that, but he's just a really good football player and a gamer and somebody that you can just tell that the players around him, the coaching staff obviously really trust him. And then I think for Arbuckle, just the game plan as a whole, like, he never really put Oklahoma in a position where he was asking them to do something they weren't good at, right? Like, he knew that it was going to be tough to run the football. And so I think that he came up with some different play designs and schemes and ideas that really helped Oklahoma be able to move the ball kind of throughout the game. And really, there's moments that, yeah, they went 3 and out, or maybe a drive, failed because they dropped a pass or whatever, but it felt like they could have scored more points in this game.
Sure.
Like, they left some out there in a lot of ways. And so you definitely have to walk away feeling pretty good about this thing. And I don't know if we're getting to the offensive line yet, but I thought what they did up front was pretty special too.
I definitely want to. John Mateer now through 2 games has completed 72% of his passes, 51 to 71 for 662 yards, 4 touchdowns, has the 2 interceptions, I believe.
Yep.
I think we knew that this kid was going to be really good. I think the expectations when you play the quarterback position, especially coming off of last year with Jackson Arnold and everything that went into that, you had to be good. He's exceeded by expectations. And Aaron Murray had a really good breakdown on YouTube that you can check out from the Michigan game talking about John Mateer. The 662 yards through the first 2 games of the season, most by an Oklahoma quarterback since Josh Heupel in 1999 when he threw for 773 yards. Also on Mateer, SEC Offensive Player of the Week, 8 consecutive games with a run touchdown and a passing touchdown, which I believe he's only the 3rd player in like the last 20-something years to do so in the world of college football.
Lamar Jackson and Tim Tebow, maybe? I can't remember the other one. I know Lamar is one of them.
I'm going to take your word for it. Yeah. Those are 2 quarterbacks that you probably want to be compared with. Certainly, early. It seems like he's growing a somewhat of a campaign if things continue well.
Yeah.
I know it's just 2 games through the season, but it's kind of crazy that we're talking about like having Oklahoma maybe possibly sending a quarterback back to New York City. To do that, you're going to have continued play up front, offensive line play. Josh, is it safe to say? I think Bill Beatenbo's found his 5. The 5 that went out there, the left guard or left tackle from left to right. We'll just go left to right. Michael Fasusi, Heath Ozida, Jake Michaela. I don't know why that's so damn difficult for me to say, but it's starting to get on my nerves.
Brent Venables doesn't say it right either.
Fabechu Wewu and Derek Simmons, and I think that we all had the same thought. We're watching pregame. They're going through it. You see that starting 5 that ended up running out there, and it's like, holy crap, Bill's going to really actually do it. Josh, that group was fantastic on Saturday. I know we're going to want to talk about Michael Fasusi and maybe Derek Simmons individually, even Michael as well, but they were fantastic. I think that's the offensive line. If you have hope for this thing offensively, that's going to be the 5 that you can grow with.
I think you have to. Like, at this point, you've got to make a call. I'll be honest. Logan Howell and Derek Simmons, I could still have that conversation. Like, I still think that's valid at right tackle, but I'm not going to argue with what happened on Saturday night. So if Bill sees it, feels good about it, I don't think there's any reason to object to those being your 5. The 4 to the left of Simmons, I think that's what you've got. I think that's your crew. Michael Fasusi, guys, I mean, I know I'm 700th to this line, but holy cow, guys. Like, he looked, from the first snap, he didn't look bothered. He didn't look like he was in trouble. He went against TJ Guy a ton, and TJ got him once there, I think late in the second, if I remember right. And with that exception, TJ Guy, who is a very experienced player that's going to play in the NFL, he had no answers for Michael Fasusi. He couldn't do anything with him. And I couldn't believe, because like you were like, okay, there's going to be a play here. Mateer's going to have to bail him out. He's going to, like he'll get overextended. He'll do, just something, anything that a freshman does. He didn't do any of it. He looked so calm and so under control, and I knew how special and how talented Michael Fasusi was. It's kind of like what I talked about with Cortland Guillory. His confidence, his ability to just keep playing and just keep going. And I know Bill talked about that. Like, R. Mason would whip him in a drill in camp, and he'd just go right back out there and get right back to business. That's what I saw. And as an offensive lineman, that's all he's got to do. His talent will take care of the rest if he can just keep thinking about what's next and moving forward and not worrying about, I got this play wrong or my technique was wrong on the play before. Like, just move forward with it.
Yeah, and look, he's going to have some freshman moments, right? It's going to happen at some point this season, but I mean, I walk out of there thinking this guy's going to be a future top 10 pick in a couple years. Yeah. Like, that's how good he can be, and I think when you have a left tackle with that kind of talent, it only elevates your offensive line. We all know it's arguably the most important position on the field other than quarterback. So I think it kind of elevates the whole group. Josh, I did want to get your thoughts on some of the interior play, because I thought Heath Ozida, for a guy that didn't play last week, he seems to have taken a huge step from where he was a year ago. And then I really thought Jake Michaela, I think Jake Michaela has got to get stronger, but his physical ability in terms of his size, his length, like, it just allows them. He has a lot more to him than maybe a Troy Everett, who I think is a solid player, and hat tip to him for I'm sure that was a really tough position to be in, not playing in that game. But Josh, what'd you think of specifically those two, Jake Michaela and Heath Ozida?
What stood out to me about Heath is I thought last year he was better as a run blocker than he was in the passing game. And, man, you watched – there was a couple of times he was just clearing people out. Like, I mean, really might have been there. And again, I would say Fabechi was the most consistent of the offensive linemen. But, like, the guy on the interior that I would see really moving bodies to a level that you're like, okay, that sticks out, it was Heath Ozida. Like, I thought he really had a good game, and I thought really, really elevated. But it was in pass pro, he just looked really confident and comfortable, and he sat there, kind of didn't. I thought at times last year he'd want to go for them rather than let the guy come to me, let me set it on my terms, so the pocket's like it should be, and he would get a little out of control and a little overextended. You know, we know he had to play too early. He wasn't quite ready. This year, this was the timeline he was supposed to play on. And so he looked like that kind of guy. With Michaela, I thought, did I see like a huge difference between him and Troy Everett? No, not really. But I keep having to remind myself, the guy's been on campus for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, he's not been around that long. Then you add in, he's still learning everything. And I think with his length and his athletic ability, he's just going to get better and better as I think they find more ways to use him. Like, okay, like they may pull him around some. They may do some stuff. And I'm not making this comparison, but like kind of some of the stuff they did with Creed, where like he's so athletic. Let's get him out on the second level. Let's do some different stuff with him. And I wonder if they mess with some of their looks a little bit just to try and capitalize on what he brings to the table.
Josh, what'd you like about that 6-man? What was that? Was the I formation? They brought in Fojay.
Yeah,
that was pretty.
I believe it was
erotic.
A 4th and 1.
Yeah.
As Ryan
I
Fojay
geeked out real hard, guys.
As he was running out to the field, I was like, oh, not only are they going for this, they're going 6 offensive linemen.
Yeah,
I like that. It was great. Let's just stay there, just in terms of the run game. I'm not saying it was a bad thing because it obviously ended up really good for Oklahoma, but we comfortable with running Mateer 19 times in a game?
No, not every game.
No.
Sure. But to win a game against a Michigan, it was needed. Torrey Blaylock, as a whole, Oklahoma ends up running the ball 40 times for 138 yards, 3.4 per carry on Saturday night. Josh, we talked about this on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. I don't think the statement, they ran the ball effectively, would probably be the right way to say it. But I thought they did just enough with this offensive line group working for the first time, the 5 up front on the offensive line, that I'm slightly optimistic in this run game aspect of this Oklahoma offense.
It's going to get better, guys. Like what we're talking about here. Heath Ozida, started his first game. Michael Fasusi started his first game of college. Jake Michaela started his first game and got, it's really started to get some run. And that's the other thing about this is, unlike last year, because I know I said all this stuff last year and people are screaming listening to this right now, it's not the same because you have guys who are going to get better. Last year, you were playing a lot of guys that kind of are who they were, and that's okay. That's fine. But like, there was no ceiling for Spencer Brown to climb to. There was no ceiling that some of the the big left tackle from USC, whose name I'm just going to blank out
Tarquin.
on.
Michael Tarquin.
Like Michael Tarquin is who he was, and he was a fine player. Nothing special. Or nothing wrong with that. But like Michael Fasusi by the end of the year will be a better player than Michael Tarquin was. Like there's no question to me. Like I don't even think that's up for conversation. So, and then you throw in guys like Fojay, some of these bodies like we're talking about on defense that you can cycle through and get them more reps, get them more snaps. This will get better. Like I honestly believe that. It's just going to take some time, and OU is going to have to do it while running into the gauntlet that is this schedule. So like there's going to be times where it looks a little shaky, but the thing that I think OU fans can take solace in, whatever else you want to say about this team in the run blocking, they can pass block. This group can absolutely pass block. They can handle that job. I'm not saying they're going to give up no sacks. There's going to be problems, but there's not going to be an Ole Miss from last year. There's not going to be a South Carolina from last year where your quarterback is just dead to rights as soon as the ball is snapped. That's not the way this is going to go. And as they build that confidence, they can start to develop some things in the run game because they can start to force teams to back off a little bit because they have a quarterback who can challenge them downfield and give the defense something to think about other than just coming up and playing run.
It's certainly nice when you're not having to talk about a group that gave up 50 sacks a year ago. It certainly seems like steps in the right direction. From a running back standpoint, Josh, this was something that George wrote about on Sunday in his 10 thoughts from the weekend. Fact or fiction here? Torrey Blaylock, RB1 right now.
I don't even know how it's a question. He's the guy. And I love Jaden Ott. I mean, we know I was all in on that and that kind of thing, and I want Jaden Ott to get touches, and I've got no problem if Jaden Ott gets back to 2023 Jaden Ott, he's your starter. That's fine. That's okay. And then you've got 2 that you can rotate in and really do work. But, guys, I would say that Torrey Blaylock right now is more trustworthy in pass blocking and some of the other things that people don't talk about enough. He's got that down. Again, this is a kid whose father played the NFL for a long time. He understands all the little jobs of being a running back, not just be big and fast and explosive, which they both are. So, again, I liked it. Guys, the thing that nobody's going to talk about when we talk about the running back room, I thought from game 1 to game 2, Arbuckle figured out how he wants to use Javonte Barnes.
Yep.
When they were doing some stuff like the John Mateer run, using Javonte Barnes as a sledgehammer lead, yes, I love it. Do more of that. Like, Javonte's great at that stuff. And I don't like, and even when he did take the ball, it was just, we're getting north and south. Like, we want to run. We're going to develop a lane for you. And who did he run behind a couple times? Michael Fasusi. It's not an accident. So, again, again, coaches can see stuff in practice and they see it in the game and it looks different. I thought he adapted a little bit and pretty well, actually, to some of his personnel in the backfield.
Javonte Barnes has a role on this football team. And it's not turning around and handing the ball off 10, 15 times a game. But go turn on the tape and watch him in pass protection. That's why he's on the football field. That guy rarely misses in pass protection. Whereas, and I was showing you, Eddie, the play where Mateer connects with Deion Burks down the sideline, great throw. Mateer gets rocked on a blitzer, free blitzer. Jay Knott misses him. That's who he's supposed to go get. He goes and gets the wrong guy. And I'm still a believer in Jay Knott. I think he's going to eventually find a role. We just kind of have to be patient and realize that, hey, this guy's kind of like Jake Michaela. He's been on campus 3 months.
Sure.
And he missed a good chunk, if not all of fall camp. Like, it's going to take him some time to find a groove. And that's why I think I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's Temple. Like, what do you really learn? Don't be surprised if they really try to figure out some of that running game stuff this week and get some of those guys involved. And, a guy like Torrey Blaylock, as good as he was on Saturday, he might also be in that same category as, hey, you could probably play without him and let him get a week off. Because I do think that shoulder injury that he had was pretty serious, and it took a lot of guts to play in that game against Michigan.
No doubt about it. I just going back to the rumors that were surrounding Blaylock at this time last week, kind of incredible that he was out there on Saturday. And not only was he out there, but played pretty well when he got the ball in his hands, even though the box score probably doesn't tell you as much as we know that he played well. Wide receiver wise, we can even lump Jaren Kanak into this situation. He continues to be dynamic. I think he's leading the country in tight end passing yards or receiving yards.
That's awesome.
Through the first 2 games of the year. Deion Burks, though, he's certainly who we thought he is. I know that's what you wrote in the 10 Thoughts on Sunday, George. Registered game-high 7 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. 6 catches for 92 yards and the touchdown in the first half, and certainly seems to be somebody that John Mateer is looking to often and early.
Yeah, and I think that receiver room as a whole, like Burks, I think is probably their best guy, but like it's week to week, man. Like last week it was Keontez Lewis, who had a great game against Illinois State. You saw Satania kind of flash in this game. He had the one drop on 3rd down, but had the big play down the sideline. I think it's those 3 guys. It's kind of a week to week who's going to be the guy. And Burks, they find good ways to get him the football, and you can tell him and Mateer have a very, very good connection.
Josh, you start imagining things when you talk about the trio that George just talked about. You think about Giovanni Gibson slowly but surely working his way back into playing shape and obviously getting back to 100% from the injury that ended his spring. OU, John Mateer, they might have some passing catching options this season.
And let's not forget the young Malik Neighbors that still hasn't really seen any playing time. So, I mean, the guys, there's some options here. But I agree. Like, I thought, I don't know, because Mateer's play on the ball at the sideline, Satania, was so impressive to break the tackle, to break free, and then make a solid throw. That catch for Satania is tougher than people think it was. Like, he's moving upfield. It's away from his body. That's not easy. And then to rob him of the yardage that he got after the catch, where he really tight-roped that really nicely up the sideline, that was impressive. And again, guys, I don't know. I need to come up with a hat. I may make a Keontez Lewis fan club hat because, like, that's my guy. Like, I just like the way he plays. Go back and look at the Deion Burks touchdown on the jet sweep. It's him putting a guy on his butt right there at the goal line to finish that play off and let Burks walk into the end zone. Like that dude, shocking. I love receiver blocking. I know that's going to surprise everybody, but like I just like the way he plays. He's so reliable for John Mateer. You can tell, and like 3rd and long, like he looks to Lewis. He tries to find him. Like there's a good. You were talking about Deion Burks. I think there's a good connection with Lewis and Mateer, and they seem to find each other really well.
Just in terms of Jaren Kanak, I think that we're all pretty surprised that it has been so seamless, right? For perspective, he had 5 receptions for 69 yards on Saturday. He now has 11 catches for 159 yards in the first 2 games of the season. Not to bring up a sore issue, OU's leading receiver among tight ends a year ago, Bauer Sharp, he had 324 yards on the entire year. 159 right now through 2 games.
He's OU's leading receiver a year ago.
It's crazy.
Well, and just like the stat that was put out there about Mateer's completed, 11 passes over 15 air yards or something, 15-plus air yards. Last year, OU only had 4 total. Mateer's already done it in 2. I mean, there's so many stats compared to last year.
Josh, we talked about this on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast, but it's so stupid to say out loud. It's just amazing what happens when you have an offensive coordinator and a quarterback that you really, truly trust.
There's no question. I mean, like they keep putting these guys in position to make plays. Like, I mean, like we're just talking about with Javonte Barnes. Last year, Javonte Barnes, other than who was it? Connecticut State or Central Connecticut or whoever it was.
Maine. That's disrespectful
Maine,
to the Black Bears. Very disrespectful.
Sorry. I am sorry. Other than that, he looked lost. And then in the first game, kind of the same. Ben Arbuckle adapts a little bit, changes some things up, and then all of a sudden Javonte Barnes is a very functional player in this offense. Like when you have the right guy at the wheel, it all makes sense. It all works. And I think, with John Mateer, Eddie, you were kind of talking about that earlier. To me, going to Temple, I want John Mateer to combine rushes and throws about 25, 28 maybe. I want to pound the rock. I want to control the clock. We're going to just physically overwhelm Temple. That's my plan if I'm Ben Arbuckle, because it's a chance for you to set that tone, and it's a team that you should be able to do it against. So that's what I'm hopeful of if I'm Oklahoma, is to really try and go out there and set that. And again, give John Mateer a week. Like, let him rest, because against Auburn, he may have to go superhero again a little bit. So I think you're just trying to set that course. But again, I couldn't agree more. You've clearly got the right 2 guys in the spots you've got them.
In closing, Oklahoma did suffer through some miscues. And I think that, we talked about this on the instant reaction that you can see from Saturday night. There's OU football teams over the last 3 years, they would have found ways to win this football game, but you were able to sustain a muff punt. You were able to sustain some penalties that extended drives, whether it be the roughing the punter call on Samuel Wasigo there, or the even something like a face mask, like the Marvin Jones Jr. at the beginning of the game, as well as the interception. I mean, they were able to kind of sustain that, and you look up at the scoreboard at the end of the game and think, oh, you could have won this game by 20-plus points.
Yeah, and all of those mistakes are very fixable, and that's the one thing. And now,
Jaden Knott mishandling a kickoff that could have been catastrophic at the time.
That. Yeah,
you start a drive on the 7-yard line instead of getting out to the 25.
Yeah, they got to figure it out on special teams. Special teams was honestly really bad.
I know they talked about this on the Oklahoma Breakdown as well, but they work a ton on special teams, which doesn't make sense to me that they've had these lapses in games 1 and game 2.
What was in game 1?
I thought that they had something.
I don't remember.
Well, now I don't have any evidence of this, but just trust me.
And speaking of having the right coordinator in place, Doug Deacon's really, really good.
Sure.
So, I mean,
I think that it's one of those things. One, Satania, he muffs the punt. That can't happen. I don't think that's something that's going to be a recurring issue. Maybe it will be. I don't know.
I guess the penalty on the Satania return in the first game is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, the block in the back. That was a good one.
Just got it overzealous.
And the running into the punter, I don't even know why are they even going after that. They were going to get the
ball.
ball.
Great field position.
They were going to get the ball in the 50. So I think some of those stuff is cleaned up. I am interested at kicker. all the talk about Tate Sandell, we've talked about it. We thought they had it. You got to make that. You got to make a 42-yarder. That's why you were brought in. So interested there. Grayson Miller, though, if you want to bring one bright spot, the punter. I thought he was fantastic.
It's a hell of a story. I mean, he was kicking at Central Oklahoma. He started at Lubbock Christian, I believe, as a soccer player. You can go back to the media day, whatever you want to call it, during the spring when Grayson Miller, we talked to him, and he kind of told about his story and how he got back to Oklahoma. Pretty good story when Oklahoma offered him to. He started crying. He was with his family. Just kind of incredible. He ended up averaging, 48 yards per kick on 4
really
punts
good.
on Saturday.
He hit a long of 59. So all those mistakes, I just look at him and say, this is all very fixable compared to where last year it was like, a lot of this is not fixable. Like they're in for it. And so that's the part. And you also have to remember, and I said this in the instant reaction, it's game 2. Oklahoma have just faced a pretty good opponent, at least we think, in Michigan in week 2, and they were able to overcome some big mistakes and still win the football game relatively handily. So that to me is like, okay, you can still learn off of this. This week, that's why I find this Temple game very important this week. Like you can work out some kinks this week, but you want to go play really clean football, clean some of that up, because this Auburn game, I think Auburn might be better than Michigan, to be honest. I think they have definitely some better athletes offensively than Michigan did. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. And that's why this week I think it's really important for Oklahoma to get right against the Temple team that is a lot better than what they had last year when they came to Norman.
Not to mention that, I think that the entirety of it and coming off of a massive win is,
how do you handle success?
Right. Yep. Vegas looks at this as, or I think a lot of people look at the line, 24.5 currently for the Temple game. And we'll get more into the Temple game here at the end of the week with the game day preview and all that. And we'll talk to players on Monday night. But there is a certain level of question just in terms of the program. How do you sustain this? How do you build the momentum that we've talked about that you were going to get if you were able to win this game? How can you carry it now into the rest of the schedule? That there's a long way to go, obviously, with 10 weeks left.
Also,
great point, Eddie.
Great point.
Well, sorry, I was waiting for George.
Well, I was going to say, I thought Josh was going to speak, but I want to say real quickly, you mentioned the schedule. Top 25, 11 SEC teams. Oklahoma faces 8 of them right now. At least, again, that could change throughout the season, but there are 8 teams left on their schedule. The only teams not ranked on their schedule, Temple and Kent State. So it's going to be
God
tough.
bless the Racers. It looks like it's not going well right now for that crew. Josh, just kind of closing thoughts on a win.
Yeah, so I've got 2 things here, guys. That I don't know that they're that win related. Grayson Miller, undoubtedly a huge Gameday Rewind fan and listening. The next time he speaks to Eddie, I want him to remind him of the way he said soccer player. That was a hate crime. Like we all heard it, Eddie.
There's
and I don't
nobody that
appreciate it.
supports the English Premier League more than me on Saturday and Tuesday mornings. I know when they play. All right.
The second, guys, I was listening to the Spanish language broadcast. I was listening to like some highlights, like it showed up on my timeline. What do we think of El Matador, which is what they seem to be referring? I kind of love that. Like, I think it's kind of fantastic.
Talking about John Mateer, right? They're calling John Mateer El Matador. Yes. Pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
He does have that kind of like stop-start, wave people past him. Like there is that element to his game.
Nothing will ever top Billy, though.
Yeah, that was good too.
That was the BYU game.
The vibes were strong on Saturday night, and they continue to be here in Norman on a victory Monday. Oklahoma wins 24-13. And, even with all the miscues that we were talking about, to walk out of there still with an 11-point victory, I don't know. It almost even heightens how big that win was on Saturday night for the program and Brent Venables that we talked about on the postgame show, as well as the instant reaction that you can see here on the
recruiting
YouTube
report
channel. Recruiting report up on Monday as well. Continued good news off the field for Oklahoma in terms of the recruiting world, which I don't know. I don't know how you could be a football fan just in general, not walk out of there on Saturday and think that was something special.
Yeah,
all right.
sure.
Very good. That is your Game Day Rewind. Thank you to Josh. Thank you to George. And, of course, thank you to myself. We wouldn't have this if I wasn't here, right?
Correct, yeah.
You
couldn't do the show without you.
Well, that'd be interesting if you did. All right. We'll talk to you next time here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.